Hi friends, my name is Borrodante, and welcome back to Paintstorm Studio. So up until this point we checked out most of the program aside from the main part, brushes and painting. So let's do that. So we obviously have a whole set of brushes that have somewhat of a fundamental changes between them, but I think, I haven't checked exactly, but there's a good chance that this is the kind of fundamental changes that you can actually perform using just the settings in the main brush engine. This program has one universal brush engine for all kinds of brushes. Whether it's this kind of decorative brush, this kind of line art thing that optimizes its looks, this kind of blending brush. You can turn this blending brush into line art optimizing brush just using the settings of the brush engine. That is pretty cool, because the variety of features that we can see in the brushes is pretty rich. And the fact that you can change one brush between two opposite kinds of them, that's pretty cool. Now that said, I have to mention that the performance of brushes is far from the best I've seen. Right now you can see how brushes work pretty fast, but this right here is 100% scale of the canvas, so it's pretty small, and the brush is really small. So when we switch to a production level resolution of the canvas, things won't go all that smoothly anymore. And by the way, keep in mind, if you've seen my previous tests of any kinds of programs, those were made on my tablet system, meaning my mobile tablet, the Cintiq Companion 2, was doing all the work with its mobile CPU and all. Right now, I'm using this tablet as a Cintiq monitor for my desktop computer, with 12-thread i7 processor and 64 gigs of RAM, and NVIDIA graphics card with 2 GB of video memory. So, the fact that this program is lagging says a lot that it's not really fast, I suppose. I haven't tried it on my tablet system yet, but I don't think that it's gonna work very well. So if you're wondering if this program works for you or not, download the trial and test the performance of brushes on big resolution and see for yourself. Also, I don't know, I haven't read anything about the development of the program. Maybe this is an early stage of the program in a way, although it is not beta or anything. Yet maybe there is certain optimization and performance improvement being planned for the future of this program. For instance, I haven't seen any kind of settings for OpenGL or anything like this, some kind of texture buffering, you know, the kind of stuff that we can see in Photoshop right now or in Krita 3. There's a lot of interesting engine tools to make things work faster, and this kind of stuff doesn't take place here yet. I don't know if it will be or not, maybe you guys know something about that. But it's definitely one major improvement that this program could really use, I think. So right now I'll probably make the canvas a little bit bigger, but not too much. Something close to the resolution of this screen. Like 3000 by 2000. Sounds good. Yeah, so about navigating the camera of the canvas itself, how to move it around. Space, click and drag moves it around. Space and control zooms around. And initially, space and alt rotate, but I changed it to space and shift, so we can rotate. I also set up 3 hotkeys that weren't set up at all. Hotkey number 3 is resetting the rotation. Hotkey number 2 shows the canvas in 100% scale. And hotkey number 1 fits it to the screen. Pretty awesome if you ask me. Except for one little thing. Luckily, I use all the panels floating in midair. They're not docked to the sides of the screen. Same as this bar at the top. It's usually... pixel hunting. There we go. It's usually like this. And if I press 1 right now to fit it to screen, it will keep in mind that there is this bar there, so it will fit under the bar. Makes sense. But if I'll hit tab and hide everything, and I press 1 again, this is still gonna be the position that it will take. Meaning, if I would have a lot of panels on the side that would take a lot of space on the sides here and here, then the canvas, even in this mode when everything is clean, would still fit into that imaginary area that is free from the panels that are not even there right now. So I think this is yet another little fix that needs to be done, that when you fit to screen when the interface is hidden, the canvas should be fitting into the clean window, not between the panels that don't take place at the moment. So yeah, a little thing like that. What other hotkeys do I have about navigating the canvas? Well, I'm using the secondary side button to flip the canvas. I believe this is a quick mirror view kind of flipping, meaning it's not actually changing the document, we're just mirroring the view of the canvas. So yeah, I have that hotkey set up also, which is really cool, although that's one of the things that I think are really cool, but I know I will probably never use them. And that is this. The wrap mode, I believe it's called, meaning we can paint the seamless textures here. This stuff also takes place in Krita. So, and this is like really quick and fast, exactly the way Krita does it. So we hit the hotkey again, and now we are with our single canvas that has seamless brush strokes going on everywhere. So it's really cool for creating some kind of textures. Textures for the brush, for instance, so they wouldn't have any seams. That's really cool. What else? Yeah, W hotkey summons the mirror tool, which works a lot slower than the brushes initially do, of course. So yeah, these are the hotkeys I have for the canvas. So yeah, performance-wise, let's see. This is the biggest size of the brush, 1550 pixels. And this is the speed of it. Well, this is not that bad, considering it's bristly, like it's made of bristles, and it's blending at the same time. So that's not horrible at all, but I think it would be really bad on my tablet system. So I guess if you're the 4K 60 FPS master race kind of person, then you don't have anything to worry about. Okay, now let's go through the brush engine. So this is everything we have to deal with. Right now we have this brush. So right now, oops, should restart. Let's save. Oh, it saves into PSD. Like, it literally, that's the only extension it works with. That's pretty cool. It doesn't even have its own file format. It's just PSD. I kinda like that. Of course I do. I'm from Photoshop. Well, that's a cool animation. Okay, so, brush engine. I'll probably move you closer to the center. So, where do we start? Now, mostly this is just a very rich brush engine that has almost everything that I could imagine that I would ever need. But what's really cool about it is the way the interface makes things work. So at first we have the basic optimized circle with different kinds of smoothness of itself. We can make it a very smooth circle like this. And as you can see, I have the bristle mode turned on, which is right here. If I click this off, it will be just a soft, basic, round brush like this. Turning it back on, and it has bristles going on. Now, feature is the same thing feature means in Corel Painter, amount of bristles inside of the pattern of the brush. So I make it more, you can see it's more dense. One thing I'm not super happy with is the fact that you can't change the thickness of bristles themselves, the way you can do that in Photoshop bristly brushes. Like in here, they're always 1 pixel wide, like super tiny, which actually never happens in reality. This is the width of actual bristles of the brush, but not the stroke that these bristles make. These bristles bring the wet paint, so they will make a much thicker line than the bristles themselves are. So, yeah, could really use also a setting for the width of the bristles. I really love to have thicker bristles because they make the brush look actually wet. It looks really cool when the bristles are thick. And that way you can use a very, very small amount of bristles, which optimizes things a lot. So you can make a very fast brush that way. But in here, if we use a very small amount of bristles, it's gonna look like this. Not very cool. But yeah, there's that. Custom forms. A whole bunch of different brushes here. I actually just realized I never tried importing my own alphas. Import new form. PNG and JPEG. Okay, let's see. Oh, I don't have my potato brush alpha around here. Let's go with Tatsuo, I guess. Now, I wonder if we have to reverse the alphas the way we had to do in earlier version of the beta of Artrage 5. Oh, here you are. Okay, so you can see there's tilting going on as well, but the angle is wrong. The only way I found to make that work is to go here and bring adjustments to the alpha like this. So the upper point is where my brush is pointing. Okay, seems to work great, although it's upside down to what I thought it would be, right? Yeah, like the angle of the triangle is facing right now. I thought it would be to the left. Okay, let's flip it again. So the actual direction of my pen is downwards then. This looks pretty cool. Now, moving to the size, you will notice that this bar right here has a bit of a weird effect to it. It's not just filling in like this, defining the value of the feature, but actually has the ending point from the back. And this is one of the cool features on the interface here. This right here means that we're using pen pressure to change the size of the pen. And this right here shows the curve of the pressure of my pen. We can adjust it so it would be more responsive or less. We can use all the features of modern tablets that we want, plus the random input, which is some kind of like noise that you just make a stroke, and it will be, you see, constantly changing the size randomly. But as you can see, the change is not very big. And also, if I will do just the pen pressure, like this is the smaller size, and this is the biggest size. This is the smaller size, and this is the biggest size. So this little area here is defining minimum size and maximum size. Wow, why are you visualizing it right now? Kind of odd. Never saw it happening before, but that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, so this is the point of this thing. And absolutely every parameter has the ability to have this kind of range depending on any kind of input of your pen. Not a big deal. All the programs, decent enough, have the range and different kinds of input, but this is such a clean and awesome way to go about it. I really like it. So right here we can see that opacity will go at 100 with maximum pressure and about 50% at minimum pressure. But first we have to define that this is gonna be the pressure that will control that. And also, which is something that I was super happy about, Paintstorm has the same approach about transparency and opacity that Photoshop has. Exactly the same. No bugs, no weird visualization of it. It's just like Photoshop. So we have opacity and transparency, which will allow us to have a semi-transparent stroke overall, or make it more stronger, as we press harder, and in general have a softer, bristly effect in the brush thanks to the opacity. So this is 2 dimensions of opacity of the brush that work exactly like in Photoshop. Super happy about that. What else? Color amount. Now this is where entering the area of blending, which can be fluently added to any brush. And it is added here, as you can see already. We're blending with red, we're blending with the blue. And what's interesting enough, we can, for instance, not use any pressure control for any kind of opacity and only use the pen pressure for color amount, which means that when we press slightly, the opacity of the color will be replaced with just clean blending, which is a really cool way to go about it, in a way. This is like working with very wet canvas. So you see, this is me pressing very slightly, and we're just dragging the colors of the canvas around. And if I press harder, we'll have our own color going on. And you can control it very specifically. For instance, if I'll make this curve appear like this only after the second half of the pressure, that means that if I press relatively slightly, I will only cleanly blend around and not introduce any new colors into the canvas. And if I press harder, I will be only painting with my color. Which is really cool, you're just controlling the pressure to change between almost like two different brushes. Clean color brush and clean blending brush. That's awesome in my book. Again, I think that's a thing that you can repeat in Krita, I'm pretty sure, but still quite awesomely executed here. Now, there's a thing, kind of a limitation, but more of an obvious logical consequence. When you're using feature, when you're using the bristly effect for the brush, you only have one type of blending, which is extending of color, which is, that's the way they called it here, extends color. Which means we kind of like smearing it in the direction of the brush. The way the finger tool, the smudge tool works in Photoshop. But if we want to have an actual blender, the kind of blender we have in Corel Painter and in Krita, in Paint Tool IE, that thing will be only available if we turn off the bristles. Then we will see that there is blur appearing here. And this thing will actually blend things smoothly. You see, we have this smooth, perfect, averaging blending, which is super convenient and awesome to work with as a blender. But with this, you won't be able to use this vector kind of bristly effect for the brush. And so you have two controls, the non-directional averaging blending and the directional blending. But as you can see, it's really cool as I can use my brush as just clean water effect when I press slightly, and then I press stronger, and it will be just clean color. Cool. I'm just happy I can do this kind of stuff because I can't do that in Photoshop. Okay, so stabilizer. This is no stabilizer. This is a lot of stabilizer. Clear enough? There's rope. But rope is a weird thing. Whoa, what is that? Never saw that before. Cool. Oh, this is another parameter for the stabilizer. This is such a cool way to render it. Okay, so there's spring as well. I guess that will create a certain stretching. Yeah, there's an extra little thing that's showing the stretching of the rope. Okay, that is a lot of settings for the stabilizer, I suppose. Let's turn it off. Scattering is just a two-dimensional scattering. No, there's both axis parameter right there. Angle. So I spent some time to figure out which one to use, which kind of input to use to create the adequate tilting for the brush. Well, apparently you don't use pen tilt or pen rotation, you need pen direction. That thing is actually responsible for the basic rotation of the pattern like this. So just in angle 1 you put in this thing, and that's all you have to do to have tilting. Squizzing probably works with pen tilt, so you can see an extra little thing showing how much we tilt the brush. Okay, cool. Never gonna use it again, probably. I used to like this kind of stuff, but right now it's like an unnecessary thing. Color. Oh my god, what did I press? Oh yeah, the F keys are responsible for different kind of presets of the interface. Wow, these are really cool. But mine is better. Okay, so color. This is something I never tried before, except for the dirty mode, but that's a pretty obvious thing, like we blend around, and the next time we're gonna be using just that color. Preserve main color, no. Oh, that will probably make it look a lot more obvious. Oh boy, we have all kinds of colors now. I'm constantly painting with different things. Well, it's getting really black sometimes. I think it's a bit glitchy or something. Maybe because it's grabbing the transparency. By the way, that's an odd thing about this program. Initially, when you create the document, you can see that we're painting on the transparency. Right, so dirty mode with preserve main color off. Use stroke gradient. So softly it's this color, strongly it's yellow. Okay, and we have these colors selected here. Oh yeah, baby. That's kinda cool. Never gonna use it again, probably. But you can't deny this is a pretty rich brush engine in such a slick, compact interface. So hue change pressure will go from red to green depending on the pressure. But if I would choose actually like blue, it will be from blue to purple or to pink, depending on the pressure. Cool. That is actually maybe a bit more useful than a constant color distortion. So I press softly, it's really dark. I press stronger, it's really bright. You can very quickly paint objects this way, defining their bright side and their shadow side. I think it may work if you're like going in a very quick speed painting mode. And sometimes you wanna go, you know, so the shadows would be a bit less saturated. I have to make the range, right? Okay, yeah, now the bright area is more saturated than it used to be. Well, this is actually very controllable. This is really helpful probably for a very controllable and awesome work with color abstraction. Yeah, I actually may use that. I don't know, kinda cool. Okay, now the texture. The texture has the level of functionality of Krita, probably. One thing that I'm always missing in other programs when I come from Photoshop is that it only has a few, like 3 modes of blending the texture with the brush stroke. And there's not a lot of settings for each mode as well. If you compare it to Photoshop, you can do all kinds of stuff with the way brush will burn into the stroke. It's really cool and helpful a lot if you really learn how to use it well. And it's usually a bit limited the way I feel it for me when I try to set up the brush. But still, there's yet a lot of settings to work with, so it's not half bad. And what I really like is actually working random scale and random offset for the texture. I'm looking at you, Krita. Actually working thing. Meaning, even if I have such a horrible, strong holes in the texture of the stroke, I will make the second stroke on top of it, and it's gonna be a different scale, different position. And how different it is depends on this range that I set up here, or here, the scale, for instance. The offset, it doesn't matter, it will change the position all kinds of ways, but the scale, it's good to just limit it a little bit, like this. So overlapping strokes won't have the same holes all the time, they will be different. Which is really cool and something Photoshop really misses. Boom, boom, boom. Everything is covered. Oh, hello. Okay, so the last thing would be the double brush. I haven't tried it a lot, but this rectangle, apparently means that it's supposed to darken the whole screen and highlighting only the selection of the brushes here. So I choose which kind of brush will be combined with my brush, so I would have the effect of double brush. The kind of thing it has in Photoshop, but I don't know how well does it work because, I don't know, I really don't appreciate double brushes lately. They're really heavy and I don't think that anyone can really benefit from them. But again, this is yet another feature that really brings the richness to the engine. Whoa. Oh, it's kind of blending the parameters of the brushes in here. It's a bit of a different thing. You see, I chose the brush that has a very, like, constantly changing radius of the pattern of the brush. And now it does the same thing to my brush. Because I connected the size parameter. Synchronization, you see? I don't know, maybe it would also reveal the actual brush inside somehow, if I would define them better. Oh my god! It's actually making 2 strokes at the same time without masking, although there is a checkbox for masking, but in this case there is no effect to be seen. And in this case we actually create a double stroke. Wow, this is so weird. I guess we could benefit from that somehow, but this is like a huge range of possibilities there, so I guess this is really cool to play with. Really interesting. I don't think I've ever seen this kind of stuff before. Okay, I got it. Okay, so I guess this is it. This trial really doesn't want us to continue. Well, I think I uncovered everything there is here, pretty much. Going through all the presets of brushes, I think that would be fun for you to try it out yourself if you want to, but pretty much they're just using different sets of parameters that we just went through. So there are really cool things, especially with the whole transition, post-correction. Those are the things that smoothing out the shapes for the line work brushes, I guess, and other stuff like that. I saw there were brushes that create like super fancy effects, like very decorative kind of stuff. And I suppose it's using that kind of parameters like for angle, yeah. So it's rotating with a constant change of the angle. So that's why it's twisting like that. Pretty. Okay, so I guess this is it. I may consider actually buying this program. It's kind of cool, although I'm still a bit anxious about the performance. I'm really not very comfortable when the program can't handle strokes of big resolutions. I mean, it can handle it, but it's kind of slow by my standards. Photoshop does it faster. Paintool SAI does it faster, although it mainly works with just perfectly round brushes. And Krita, in its latest update, seems to work really fast with big strokes as well. Like, really fast, I think. Almost Photoshop level fast. So that's the thing. There are ways to make things faster, so that may be a thing that should be done. But for now, this is it. I don't know, maybe we'll paint something in this sometime, but obviously that's not gonna be in the trial version, since it interrupts me all the time. I may buy it, right now it's $19. It's really cheap. This is so-called grand opening special price. So yeah, this new huge version of this program is very fresh, apparently. So that's the thing. But for now, this will be it. And I thank you for watching. If you did, I guess you did if you're here. Leave a like and subscribe, tell a friend, optimize, do whatever you want. And I will see you in the next one. Bye! Oh, yeah. Oh, no.